And the reason they felt they needed to do that, Jesse, is because if they told their audience the truth, that when gas is the most expensive it's been, flights are super expensive, that 5,000 kids decided to spend a weekend in summer traveling across the country to go hear from conservative speakers, maybe the audience of The View would think twice about all of their ideas. That's why they felt so compelled to try to smear our wonderful summit this last weekend.
Yeah, they have nothing else to talk about.
Whoopi Goldberg had a tough moment on live TV, and yes, it was seen by everyone. But no, it wasn't because of the heat. It happened when Charlie Kirk showed up and didn't hold back. He came onto The View and delivered some tough truths, catching everyone off guard. At first, Whoopi seemed calm and confident, but the moment quickly shifted. She looked completely thrown off, as if something unexpected hit her hard. So what exactly did Charlie say that left her stunned and speechless? Let's just say this wasn't a polite discussion. It was a full-on clash of ideas, and Whoopi's reaction? It was intense, like watching a high-stakes TV drama unfold live.
Charlie Kirk's the founder and CEO of Turning Point USA and the author of the new book, The College Scam. So, Charlie, do you accept The View's apology?
I mean, regardless of whether or not I accept it, the question is, do our students accept it? That's really what's at heart here. They went after our 5,000 students at our event there of high school and college kids. And look, I get attacked all the time. People say false things. I'm a public figure. But when you go after 16 and 17-year-olds that travel from across the country that then have to live for the rest of their life with a shadow over them because someone at ABC says that they might be linked to neo-Nazis.
School Whoopi Goldberg, often seen as the queen of daytime TV, has spent years delivering her opinions with confidence, rarely challenged, always backed by applause. From her comfortable seat on The View, she's made a name for herself as someone who speaks her mind, often without interruption. But things changed recently. The usual smooth routine hit a major bump, and the world noticed. That shift came when conservative commentator Charlie Kirk decided he wasn't going to let The View dominate the conversation without any pushback. Now, Charlie Kirk isn't someone you'd typically expect to shake up daytime television. But that's exactly what happened. He didn't appear on the show. Instead, he took to his podcast, armed with clips, facts, and confidence, and delivered a sharp, clear response. It all started with a comment from Whoopi that was met with the usual laughter and nods around the table. But Charlie saw something in it others missed, a flaw in the argument. He didn't rant or lash out. He simply broke it down point by point and let his audience see exactly why he took issue with it. The result? A calm, focused critique that sparked a huge reaction online and left many viewers questioning what they just heard on live TV.
Welcome back. You know, in Monday's conversation about Turning Point USA, I put the young people at the conference in the same category as the protesters outside. And I don't like it when people make assumptions about me, and it's not any better when I make assumptions about other people, which I did. So, my bad. I'm sorry. Okay. So, the state...
Charlie Kirk didn't just respond. He carefully took apart Whoopi's entire argument, piece by piece. There was no shouting or drama, just a clear, thoughtful breakdown that connected with thousands of viewers tired of one-sided conversations in the media. He didn't stop at pointing out one mistake. He laid out a full case, backed by facts, showing the flaws in Whoopi's take with precision. It was the kind of response people have been waiting for. Someone who actually checks the details and calls things out, clearly and calmly. The impact was immediate. Charlie delivered his message with quiet confidence, and within hours, the clip took off online. His response didn't just challenge Whoopi, it completely flipped the script. Her soundbite was quickly edited, reposted, and turned into a wave of viral content. Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Reddit all lit up. People were reacting, analyzing, and pulling up past clips, diving deep into Whoopi's previous statements. It was a digital firestorm, one that made headlines and got people talking everywhere.
But look, what did it take for us to get to the point of an apology? We had to threaten a lawsuit, Jesse. And by the way, we're still entertaining it. We're talking to some of the best lawyers out there that are experts in this. And as you know, these things can be very complicated. There's a lot of facts and circumstances around it. But we're not going to let this go, because you should not be able to smear 5,000 high school and college kids and then just be able to walk away.
Even people who hadn't watched The View in over a decade were suddenly paying attention. Charlie Kirk had pulled back the curtain, and what he exposed was a stack of strong opinions built on shaky ground. The reaction? It spread quickly, and the internet took notice. Soon the real questions started to surface, not the usual safe ones, but the kind that challenge everything. People began asking, did she really just say that? And how did that even get applause? That's when things began to shift. The long-protected image of The View started to lose its shine. This wasn't a dramatic on-set confrontation. Whoopi didn't face off with anyone in person. Instead, a calm voice from outside the studio pulled apart her words, and the usual sense of control started to slip. Suddenly, the show's familiar rhythm, polished takes, easy laughs, and nods of agreement, felt off. You could hear it in the nervous laughter, the pauses that lingered too long, and the punchlines that didn't quite land. Whoopi was still. There, in her usual spot, delivering her thoughts with the same tone and posture. But something had changed. The spark was dimmer. The room felt different. And for the first time in a long while, it seemed like even she was wondering if the audience was still on her side.
Disgusting, gross elitism and her complete out-of-touch nature with respect to the rest of the world. Sunny Hostin goes on The View and decides now would be a great time to dump all over the so-called uneducated.
What we did not have is white women who voted about 52%, right, for Donald Trump. Uneducated white women, is my understanding.
Just because you didn't go to college doesn't mean you're stupid, and it doesn't mean that you don't have wisdom. You can go to college and get a bunch of irrelevant facts about how men can allegedly give birth or whatever they teach. But I said this to our team. I said working people, the muscular class, including working women, they are so in favor of Trump, and they don't want to be called stupid or uneducated.
Here's the real takeaway. It wasn't just about what Charlie Kirk said. It was about what he revealed. He showed that you don't need a big studio, a panel of hosts, or a polished production to challenge what's being said on national television. All it takes is a camera, an internet connection, and the courage to speak plainly. He didn't yell. He didn't argue. He simply laid out the facts, calmly and clearly. And that quiet delivery? It made the message even more powerful. Because once you notice the gaps in the argument, it's hard to ignore them. Charlie didn't act like someone trying to win a fight. He spoke like someone who had already made his point. While The View leaned on applause, smooth transitions, and rehearsed talking points, Charlie Kirk countered with straight talk and careful logic. There was no shouting, no chaos, just steady, confident criticism that cut straight through, and people noticed. Fast. The internet picked up on it immediately. Clips of Charlie's response started spreading quickly. YouTubers posted videos with titles like, "Did Charlie Kirk just end The View?" and "One clip that changed everything." TikTok exploded. Twitter lit up. Even casual viewers began pointing out the same issues, repetitive arguments, shallow commentary, and a tired moral tone that didn't hold up under pressure anymore.
Now we begin with a shocking apology just a short time ago from the ladies of The View to Turning Point USA. A war of words broke out after the conservative group was rallying the next generation of voters at its youth summit in Tampa, Florida this weekend. And the liberal panel just couldn't help themselves. The group sent a scathing cease and desist letter after hosts on The View suggested that Turning Point had embraced neo-Nazis who showed up outside the event.
Let's be clear. Whoopi didn't break down. She didn't cry or walk off the set. She stayed in her seat and kept speaking. But something had definitely changed. The energy in the room felt different, and you could tell. This wasn't the kind of dramatic moment you clip for TV. It was quieter, more uncomfortable, and far more telling. The shift showed itself in the silence. Where a hot take would normally earn applause, there was nothing. No laughs, no cheers, just a long pause and a blank look off camera, like she was searching for support that wasn't there. That's how public opinion really turns. No big announcement. Just a quiet room that used to hang on your every word, and now doesn't. Even the producers seemed to sense it. The topics got safer, the tones softened, and the rants that once felt fiery now came off like they were following a carefully written script. It all started to feel like damage control, like they were trying not to make headlines for the wrong reasons again. And that's where Charlie Kirk's approach really landed. He didn't need to argue or show up on set. He didn't make a scene. He simply exposed something, calmly, clearly, and without fanfare. No dramatic debate, just a quiet but precise response that let the audience see through the noise. It worked, not because Charlie is famous or loud, but because he voiced something many people already felt, that the Polish of daytime TV might be covering up a lack of real depth.
You let them in and you knew what they were. Right. So you are complicit. I want to make a quick clarification about the neo-Nazi Turning Point event. They were outside protesters. My point was more metaphorical, that you embraced them at your thing, I felt.
Well, fast forward to this morning. The host apologized before quickly cutting to commercial.
This wasn't about politics. It wasn't a left versus right moment. It was simply common sense facing off against polished but shallow commentary. And when that common sense finally hit the airwaves with a strong enough signal, people started to wake up. They realized they'd been applauding catchy phrases that didn't hold up once you actually looked into them. The most powerful moment? The silence. Not just from Whoopi, but from the entire system that had always backed her without hesitation. There was no real response, no pushback, just a pause. Because what could they say? The facts were clear. Trying to fight them would have only made things worse. So what did they do? What big media always does when the pressure gets too high. They just moved on, quietly. But the internet didn't. It remembered. That one video didn't disappear. It kept showing up, being shared,